Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Ducksy Gaming and a leveling guide for the Vile Lightning Strike Raider. This guide is going to cover leveling and early maps until you can get hold of a 6 link. So for Act 1, this is what you want your tree to look like at the end of the act. Skills wise, by split and steal from Nessa after killing Hillock and get a 2-handed sword. You're looking for a green linked item and movement speed boost in this act. When completing Tidal Islands, collect Onslaught and link it to Split and Steel. After killing Dweller, you should be far enough along that you've picked up the Strength and Intelligence node, and you can now equip Decoy Totem and War Banner. Both will help for Brutus. The quickest way to do Dweller is to drop a portal on the bridge in a submerged passage as you make your way through. Then when you get to prison, you can travel back to town through the portal and kill Dweller. This should also ensure you're a high enough level to equip the gems. Use Decoy Totem to occupy Brutus and drop War Banner to increase attack, damage and speed. Once you've killed Brutus, start looking out for all claws or shark tooth claws. Just white is fine, but if you can find some with Ellie damage or even fizz damage, it's even better. When you get to Merval's Cavern and you've killed Fairgraves, pick up Whirling Blades from Tarkley and buy Spectral Helix from Nessa and then equip your 2 claws. At this point, I'd also recommend buying 2 Sapphire Rings or trade in 2 Iron Rings and 2 Blue Skill Gems to receive 2 Sapphire Rings. Merval may take a little while, but will be easy with cold resistance and life on hit from the claws. As you move on to Act 2, this is roughly what your skill tree should look like at the end of Act 2. When you get into town, turn right and head to the next area, look for the entrance to the den and drop a portal. Now don't go in there yet, just keep going to the next area. Pick up the waypoint here and then travel back to town and through the portal. Go into the den and kill the beast and exit character select to get to town. Pick up the Quicksilver Flask as a reward. You should now have 2 Quicksilver Flasks and you should be able to traverse the maps a lot quicker. So travel back to Crossroads and then travel up into the Chamber of Sins. Pick up the waypoint and find the stairs. The waypoint directs you to the stairs. So here, complete the trial, then kill Piety and collect the gem. Take Herald of Ice as a reward and use the aura. If you can, buy Herald of Thunder or Skitterbots, whichever your attributes allow you to run, and use this aura. If you have the funds, buy Blood Rage as this gives you frenzy charges and increased movement speed to help you get through the zones quicker. Now from town, go left and pick up the waypoint and keep going through to the Western Forest. Again, pick up the waypoint. At this point, we want to go and kill Weaver. The direction you need to go will be in the opposite side of the path to the waypoint. Kill Weaver and then collect the reward in town. Take faster attacks as a reward and link it to Whirling Blades. This is going to be your main movement skill. At this point I will go back to town, and if you don't already have it, buy Blink Arrow or Lightning Warp, and this is going to be our secondary movement skill for getting over gaps. Buy Trinity and level it in the offhand if you can afford it, and also Ellie damage with attacks. Go back to the Crossroads and then travel down to Fell Shrine Ruins in the Crypt and complete the lab trial. Go back to the Crossroads and go right to get to the Broken Bridge and then kill Crichton. We're now going to travel to Riverways, go up to Wetlands, kill Oak and get the waypoint. And then finally travel to Western Forest and kill Alira. She will be on the waypoint side of the path. Then follow the path to the end of the zone, kill the bandits and unlock the passageway. From here, you just travel to Act 1 to get the reward, then to Act 2 to collect your 2 passive points. Now, just travel to the wetlands and progress through the rest of the act as normal. In Act 3, your tree should look something like this. Now is the time you want to start looking out for a 4 link. Your ideal 4 link will be Helix, Added Cold, Onslaught, and then either Trinity or Ellie damage. Once you've fought Piety again in the crematorium and completed the lab trial, go back to town and buy Anger and Purity of Elements from Clarissa. Dump your other auras and War Banner if you've not already. Your auras are now just going to be Anger and Purity of Elements. This gives us a lot of flat damage, lots of early resistances and ailment immunity. You should be okay to run these with the reservation nodes we've already picked up, especially once you get mana and life on hit nodes. All the way through until the end of Act 10, you need to be looking out for claw upgrades. Don't use claws with less than 1.5 attacks per second as a base speed, and use any anger, hatred or wrath essences you get on claws. If you're still running Act 1 claws, use any essences you can find. From here, progress through the act as normal, remembering the trials in the catacombs and the Imperial Gardens. Don't bother killing Gravicius, as we don't need the reward from him and the fight wastes time. Same with the library, we don't need any of those gems yet, so we can skip the library. The boss in this act is certainly doable on a 3-link, but a 4-link will feel much nicer and quicker. Now at this point in the game, we potentially have all our gems in place to take us to Act 6, and it should look something like this. Going on to Act 4, this is what your skill tree should look like at the end. Again, keep looking for claw upgrades and 4-links. Craft resistances on gear using the crafting bench if you haven't hit cap, as you'll want to be resistance capped for lab. Now progress through Act 4 as normal. I normally look to tackle the first lab when I reach the crystal veins. Now as long as you've got 750 HP, you should be fine for this lab. The tactic on Azaro is just to circle around him using Spectral Helix as you go, and he's easy to kill. When you ascend, obviously go Raider and pick Way of the Poacher. This gives frenzy charges, so if you wanted to you could drop Blood Rage if it feels bad to use, but it does still give you a movement speed boost. Now we don't need any gems from this act, so just complete it as normal when you've completed the lab. For Act 5, skill tree should look something like this at the end. Again, we don't really need any rewards here, but start looking out for flasks. We want a silver, a diamond and a jade flask by the time we go into maps. The quickest way to do this act is just to not go back to town until just as you're about to kill Kitava. So go straight through the control box picking up the Mise meter and then get the waypoint in Ariah Square. Keep going up to Templar Courts, make your way through and kill Innocents. If you do need XP, this is a really good grinding zone. Then make your way back through the zone to the Ruined Square, pick up the waypoint and go straight into the ossuary collecting the staff. Exit the ossuary through the door and head down until you're near the cathedral entrance. At this point drop a portal and then head down to the right into the reliquary. Circle around collecting the 3 torments and then checkpoint back to town. Collect all the rewards including the skill points from Valenta and Lani, then use your portal to get back to the middle of the zone and head to the rooftop to kill Kitava. If you do it in this order, the act can be done really quickly. For Act 6 to 10, we don't need to upgrade our links, just be on the lookout for gear upgrades constantly, ensuring that resistances are capped. Keep looking for claw upgrades to ensure that the damage doesn't fall off. In Act 6, if you have the gem slots, I would add in the totem and the cast and damage taken skills, and pick up Elemental Weakness Curse, as this is more effective than Assassin's Mark during leveling. Now just level through it as normal until you get to Act 10. Here I would rescue Bannon and then head straight to Control Block's waypoint. Kill Valenta, get the skill point, and then go to Desecrated Chamber and kill Avarius. At this point I'd also pick up any skill point quests you haven't completed yet. And after this I'd strongly recommend spending at least 30 minutes farming highs for currency and gear upgrades so that you're comfortable doing the 3rd lab. Once you've boosted your resistances and you've got better gear, I'd then recommend doing your 3rd lab and killing Kitava. The reason I say this is we want to drop Purity of Elements as soon as possible once we hit maps, and we're already relying on it for resistances, so we really need to boost our gear up before we get to maps. When you're heisting, feel free to spend chance orbs on contracts because you're going to get them back through chests that you loot. When you're happy that you're strong enough, kill Kitava and complete lab and then finish the storyline quest. Do not worry about spending time in heist, as if you progress quickly you'll only be level 63 to 64 by the time you get to the end of Act 10 anyway, so leveling to 68 or 69 doesn't hurt your progress. It also means when you start mapping and drop your first Imperial Claw that you can equip it, as these have a required level of 68. In maps, your first goal is to get a shield with 30% ailment immunity to enable you to drop Purity of Elements and use Grace. Then you want the Claw upgrade. Use Harvest and Speed rerolls on a Claw along with Zeal, Wrath, Hatred and Anger essences. The easiest way to craft the shield is through Harvest with either Fire, Lightning or Cold, as the Ailment Avoidance has all these tags on it and it's a super common roll. When you have your Claw and your shield, you then want to improve all of your campaign gear so that you've got decent resistances and can cover any intelligence and strength requirements. Once you're able to drop Purity of Elements, that's when you want to start leveling up your Precision gem. Now since the Atlas is completely changing, I'm not going to go through how to progress from here, as it will change. In 3.16 my goal was to unlock exotic goods in Lyra Arthane, as these can drop 5 and 6 links, and then to unlock essences in Haywalk Hamlet to help with crafting. In trade, I would buy a 5 link so that I progress to Vile Lightning Strike as soon as possible, and on this setup you can comfortably do up to tier 10 maps. From there, it's a case of either buying or farming your first 6 link, and then targeting Strike Gloves as your first major upgrade, as you can then drop Ancestral Call. From here, just aim to upgrade your gear piece by piece to the gear recommended in the main guide. You don't have to worry about rushing this, as T4T maps should be fine on an Ancestral Call 6 link, even if bossing might be a little slow. So to progress to Vile Lightning Strike, you need a 5 link, the Vile Lightning Strike gem, and then the Pierce nodes on the tree or on your gear. This is also the point I would drop Ellie Weakness and start running a 2 link setup of Assassin's Mark and Mark on hit support. When you get your 5 link, your tree should start picking up more crit, so ensure to put Nightblade support into the build. Your 5 link should be Vile Lightning Strike, Nightblade support, Trinity, added Cold, but if Trinity doesn't proc you might have to swap this out, and then Ancestral Call. It's at this point you also want to put Withering Step on your left click to keep up elusive 100% of the time. Once you get a 6 link but you're still running Ancestral Call, your 6 link should be Vile Lightning Strike, Nightblade, Trinity, added Cold, again watch out to make sure it procs, then either Ellie damage with attacks or inspiration, and then finally Ancestral Call. Once you do manage to get hold of some Strike Gloves, you can then drop Ancestral Call and add in Ellie damage with attacks or inspiration support, whichever you didn't have. Now this should put you well on the way to clearing the Atlas, and I hope it helps. Use the main guide along with this to supplement your progression. As always, thanks so much for watching, take care, and see you in the next video.